said, we want this law to come into effect because we are losing market share. Her exact words. And I turned to him and I said, what does it say about your theology if you have to define it in terms of market share and you have to have human legislation to hold it together? Christians should not make the same mistake. So, religious freedom is for everybody. Thank you, Thomas Jefferson. Thank you, James Madison. We've got that right in this country. It took us a couple hundred years of pounding, but I think we got that right in this country. A mad rush for the microphone. Yes.
Hi. You talked a lot, or mentioned that tent makers and those who come in through the back door are harming rather than helping the indigenous church.
No, I mentioned it in one example.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you say that the best way to shrewdly go into a country and to help rather than to harm these people when it's a closed country and the government is saying you can't be here if you're a Christian?
Well, again, the example is important. The example was Laos, and there are Christians in Laos. And the church will flourish in Laos if it's given a chance. If the church is set back because new laws have to be formulated to keep out the people that are really not necessary there. I remember we were meeting in the ambassador's residence one night, and the Philippine ambassador came up to me, a woman, and turns out she's a Christian, and she started to talk to me about her secret church worship that she holds every Sunday. And I just got more and more nervous because you don't have to have a secret church service. And if you hold a secret church service and you're found out, it's like you're trying to do something illegal. And communists are very paranoid. And it can hurt. Now, there are places where the tent makers are needed. I've got a brother-in-law who distributes Bibles in China. Doesn't throw them, doesn't bombard. And he's got a great reputation with the house church. And he comes and they want him to teach. And they want him to bring Bibles. And they want him to go back to the States, the last remaining superpower, and lift up the plight of folks who think nobody out there knows what they're going through. I think that's a legitimate use. We support that ministry because of that. But discernment becomes very important. The shrewdness becomes very important. Common sense, common sense. What is happening in Laos today does not make good sense. It'll backfire. What happened in Afghanistan by showing the Jesus film in that context, that cultural context, did not make good sense. It backfired. And you pay for these things. What we did in Russia, ignoring the Orthodox, backfired. It set us back years in the missionary movement. How long it set us back in the kingdom development, I don't know, but it set us back a long way in human terms. And I guess the last question?
I'm just asking if there's correlation. We see the blood shed by evil butcher leader regimes, Saddam or Hitler, Stalin. Is there, and we see the blood of the soldier, not just American, but other. Well, what's the association with the blood of the church and our laying down our lives for the gospel? Just throwing these three together and just talk about that a while. You've got quite a perspective, that's all. I'm just putting it out on the table. But
I think the difference would be motivation. Let's put Hitler in a category, motivated as he was to do what he did. Let's put a military as a professional group of people in a category who are motivated as an act of professionalism, duty, honor, patriotism to do what they do. And the question then comes to the Christian, what is it about your life that's worth dying for? By the way, this is the hardest culture in the world to answer that question. We got so many safety nets. Christianity doesn't cost in this country. I'm here to tell you that Christianity pays. Some days it pays pretty well. So we don't understand that. We don't know how to handle that very well. But if you don't ask and answer the question, what is it about the faith that's worth dying for, I don't think you know what's worth living for. The soldier knows what's worth dying for, what's worth living for. Maybe even Hitler did. I think it's time the Christian also understands that. You know, if we believe in the cross and don't follow in the way of the cross, we're just experiencing the cheapest of all grace. Why did the Rwandan Christians butcher each other? 1 million people in basically 100 days. The most efficient killing since Nagasaki. 86% were Christians. Can it be that they did not count the cost of their faith when they accepted that which was freely given? And when the first hard lesson came up against their faith, it wasn't strong enough to resist the reality that was in front of them. If we don't understand what all this costs, this way of the cross, we'll have problems in difficult situations. But again, I think it all comes back to motivation. And if every Christian could do what every soldier does, you know, why am I here? What am I prepared to do? Why am I prepared to do it? What if I pay the ultimate sacrifice? Will it be worth it? If Christians could do the same thing, I think we'd be better off. We'd have deeper faith. Thank you. I think there's a cookie or two. Thanks for coming.